The concept of time, more specifically time manipulation, is extremely, and I do mean when I say this, extremely complicated. It seems like sometimes fate is always undefeated, even when it looks like things are looking pretty good. In the beginning of Two Blue Vortex, Kashin Koji and Boruto were solely focused on preventing what they referred to as the worst possible future. Originally, this future was supposed to be the Shinju evolving into full-blown divine trees and sucking all life out of the planet, whether that be killing Boruto and devouring Kawaki, or just naturally evolving with time until they become full divine trees. So to avoid this future, they decided to try and stop the birth of the Shinju altogether, but as we all know, that didn't happen. So now to avoid this future, they had to take the harder path and single-handedly take out the Shinju one by one, and then hopefully by the end of this big operation, they will somehow be ready to destroy Jiraiya and end the reign of the Divine Trees. This timeline is the main plot of the series. As Koji already said, there was a future that exists where they successfully stopped the birth of the Shinju by disposing of its roots, but that future was extremely unlikely. But anything that doesn't have a 0% chance of happening technically can happen. So throughout the story so far, Boruto and friends have made impressive progression in making this operation a success. First, they annihilated Hidari and Konoha, which in all hindsight didn't really turn out to be a positive because he was revived, but it's still a win because they gave Jiraiya a reason to retreat, basically saving Himawari and Boruto in the process. The real progression was during the Land of Wind mission. Even though a new Shinju was born, Konoha wasted no time in teaming up with Tsunagakure Shinobi to save Shinki and Gaara, as well as taking out 2 of the Shinju in one trip. So now this cut the Shinju's numbers down to only 3, those 3 being Jiraiya, Mamushi, and Hidari. And now that Mamushi has invaded Konoha to devour Ada, if he fails to do that, then the number of the Shinju gets cut down to 2, making them that much closer to singling out Jiraiya. Of course, this is only if they're able to successfully defeat Mamushi in Konoha. But like I said, time manipulation works in mysterious ways. If fate deemed that something shall happen, then it's gonna happen no matter what. For example, let's say Boruto stepped in to save Yodo from dying by Ryu. This action would ironically cause the deaths of so many more people. Because if Boruto went to Tsunagakure initially when he was actually going to, until Koji stepped in and told him to stop, he would cause Jiraiya to come to the battlefield. And I think we can all agree, if Jiraiya was in the mix of things, not only does Sarada not awaken her Mangekyo Sharingan, Konohamaru might be the one who ends up dying. With Boruto's hands full with Jiraiya, how would he go and assist Konohamaru? Ryu would still be alive too, because Sarada never awakened her MS. So not only would there be more enemies they would need to focus on until Kawaki arrives, it would create a crazy future scenario where instead of Yodo being the one to die, it could be Konohamaru, or even worse, maybe even more people than originally expected. Fate has deemed it necessary that at least one person die in this encounter. So if you try and save one person, in exchange for that one person, another life might be taken away. So technically that future never changed at all. It just manifested another way. It's literally the law of equivalent exchange. And currently in the story, we're seeing this firsthand. During Inojin and Koji's conversation in chapter 28, he had to tell Inojin basically the same thing he told Boruto a couple years ago, as of why he doesn't share every detail about the future to everyone, which is because it would decrease the chances of positive future outcomes from happening. He used the future where Himawari awoke into her Nine-Tails power for reference. He asked him, if you knew you were going to die when you charged in headfirst to save Himawari from Jiraiya, would you still do it? Even if you hesitated for just a moment, that moment could be the difference from a certain future happening or not. And I see what Ikemoto did to really pay off having this conversation, because all it is just Koji repeating himself on things we already know. But to give this conversation a little bit more value, he included new future visions from 10 directions. And both of these visions are potential outcomes that can manifest from this very story arc. So this particular future he shows us is of Himawari and Ada dying. So after this vision, Koji tells Inojin that at the very least, they should change any future where Himawari and Ada die, implying that there are futures that exist that entail both of these girls dying. It could also imply that Himawari dying could in fact be the catalyst to Ada dying. So in more ways than one, these futures can go hand in hand with each other. But remember what I said about fate working in mysterious ways. The fact that Koji revealed these new timelines where Himawari and Ada die could be the catalyst for something even worse happening. Koji has revealed a way to prevent the timeline where Himawari dies, and the way to do it relies on Inojin mastering mind transmission formation. So I mean, as you guys can see, they already took steps to prevent her death. And in later chapters, this preparation will become more clear in how it affects the mission. And believe it or not, this preparation will result in Ada's survival percentage going up. But at the same time, fate is always undefeated. Like Koji said, he never knows if his choice was correct or not until he physically sees the outcome. And I said time and time again, no judgment is the correct judgment until the future presents itself to us. Meaning Koji can be wrong in his actions, and even Boruto too. It's widely known that Boruto was right about going to save Konohamaru, because Koji didn't know about Kawaki's involvement. So that proves right there, there's always a better way to go about the future. Always. It's up to them whether or not they're able to see that future or not. And that same way of thinking goes along with this scene too. It's very obvious that Ada is not being devoured in this panel in the literal sense. In fact, it seems to me that she's being absorbed by Ten Tails. The same situation as characters like Shinki, Sasuke, Moegi, etc. So judging off this picture, we can probably conclude that there's a future that exists that entails Ada being turned into a Shinju, or you know, her getting her own Shinju variant. So something that could be possible in these upcoming chapters is indeed the death or shinjification of Ada. I think I just made up a word, shinjification. Yeah, I think we should all just use that in the case of somebody being turned into a Shinju. So yes, the death or shinjification of Ada. I only say death because Koji still did imply that they wanted to avoid a future where both Himawari and Ada die. But we still know that whenever a person is trapped in this tree-like figure, their chakra is being siphoned off, and therefore a new Shinju will be born. It's not the case for everyone that this happened to, but for most characters that actually matter, it resulted in the birth of more Shinju. We still don't know what happens when a Shinju actually devours their target. It could be in fact that this is somewhat what that looks like. Maybe the word devour could simply be a word to describe the process, not the action of literally eating the person. Since we haven't seen it, we still don't know for sure. The closest thing we've seen to that is Jura trapping Himawari in the same tree-like figure during their first encounter. And we can see, in this encounter, he clarified that the term devour is just a word they use to describe the process. And he also says that she will become a source of nourishment for them. So I guess if we take that statement how it's probably meant to be taken, then Jura placing Himawari in the tree is indeed a part of the process, which results in instant death. But even though Jura says this, we still don't know what are the possible outcomes from this process, nor what's the difference between shinjification and devouring someone. And I guess Ikemoto's gonna clarify that in a later time, but for right now it's still not 100% clear to us. So here's the questions we have to ask ourselves regarding this problem. How does devouring a target actually affect the Shinju? Does it directly affect them? Will it just create another Shinju like it normally does, even if that person dies? Is it impossible for a Shinju to exist, even if their counterpart has been killed? Or one of the most likely theories we can conclude from this situation, does this nourishment that Jura speaks of entail of the Shinju taking the power or abilities of the one they quote-unquote devoured? All these are questions that could be the determining factor of this next topic I'm about to bring up. Since the Shinju are technically a single existence, think of all of them as one, but with their own individual consciousness. When Mamushi said he wanted to make Ada's genetic information his own, it could be deeper than what we first thought. Yes, it could simply be Mamushi using Ada's body as nourishment and gaining her genetic information through that method of devouring her, but I still want to be open-minded about this, because Ikemoto loves to throw us off sometimes, so everything that sort of seems obvious probably isn't all that obvious. So besides that, there is an alternative and probably more exciting way for Mamushi to actually achieve his goal. So, since the Shinju are as one, by creating a Shinju of Ada, which has nearly all of her power, especially the power of the Senrigan, Mamushi will accomplish his goal of making Ada's genetic information his own, as part of the Shinju. And this could be a potential future we could see in result of this operation like Kashin Koji says. A future where Ada is devoured by the Shinju, and in result, her power becomes their own, in the form of another created Shinju, or by any other means that was not specified yet. But for the sake of the video, personally, I found it a fun idea to talk about a potential Ada Shinju, which is what I'm gonna do. So what would happen if an Ada Shinju came to be? Like, isn't that exciting to just think about? How powerful would that Shinju be? Well, first, because Mamushi is a clone of Bug, and Bug isn't all that much of a fighter, I would say he can't even fight at all, I don't think Ada not being much of a fighter herself would affect her Shinju counterpart. Mamushi is physically one of the strongest Shinju we have seen, even enough to overwhelm Boruto to make him play defense. So if Ada Shinju takes a path similar, she can easily become the second strongest Shinju, and it won't even be close. It'll make the death of Matsuri and Ryu not even matter at all. And surprisingly enough, the physical aspect of this new Shinju isn't what would make her one of the strongest Shinju. That would be the power and abilities of the new Shinju. So you see, one of the things that makes a Shinju clone so significant is that it takes not only the physical appearance of their counterparts, but it also takes their abilities, if they have any. Ryu was able to use and manipulate Iron Sand just like Shinki, and Hidari was able to use the Chidori for obvious reasons. So this Shinju being able to use Ada's abilities, more specifically the abilities of the Senrigan, that shouldn't be a surprise if it does happen. And as we know, the Senrigan has many abilities, like present and retrospective clairvoyant vision. So this allows the user to see and hear any event happening anywhere in the world in real time. Or how about viewing any event that happened from the moment of their birth, similar to watching surveillance footage. So to balance out this new Shinju, Ikemoto can make it to where she can't view anything that's happened prior to its birth, meaning anything that's happened in the chapter where the Shinju was born, along with everything before that. But it can still see in real time, which means this Shinju would still be able to do things for Jiraiya, like finally being able to find Boruto and his accomplice, Kashin Koji. He can find their hideout, or he can always find out where Himawari and Boruto are, his two targets, especially if they're located outside of Konoha. So basically, if this happens, then the worst possible future is imminent. Whatever plans or anything that Shikamaru or Koji comes up with will immediately be shot down by Jiraiya with the power of the Senrigan. You can't allow this power to fall into the hands of Jiraiya, because if you for 1 second thought he was unstoppable, imagine how unstoppable he'll be once he finds and eventually absolutely destroys Koji. And you know, just know where Boruto or Kawaki is 24/7. So the purpose of this Ada Shinju would really be for recon reasons. Simple observation. That's what it'll look like. And it makes sense because this is what Mamushi said he wanted for the Shinju, for them to thrive more as a species. This is what they need to be able to thrive more. Now of course, this also means with more information that the Shinju acquires, it could eventually learn of omnipotence, especially if that ability is tied into the power of the Senrigan. I mean, then that's a whole nother conversation to be had. Because of the Shibai cells that are embedded into Ada's DNA, and now a part of her chakra, this power would be directly transferred to the Shinju, and the necessary information would awaken it to that power. It's information. It's always been information. That's what makes these things stronger. And the more information they gain on the world around them and themselves, the more powerful they become, and the more likely the worst possible future manifests itself. So as I said in the beginning of the video, the worst possible future is trying to manifest itself like this. Boruto and the rest can try and stop it, but if fate deems that future is going to happen, then it will manifest itself in different ways. Ada becoming a Shinju is just another way out of the many possibilities. So the battle isn't only against the Shinju, but fate itself. That's always been the final boss. Not the Shinju, but fate itself. So what do you think would happen if this future presents itself? What would this timeline lead us to? Ultimate destruction? An unexpected positive event? Leave all your thoughts and ideas in the comment section below. And remember, if you enjoyed the video and want to see more videos like this, go ahead and like the video, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss another video like this, or when I go live for chapter spoilers. And until my next one, I'll see you boys and girls later, and I'm out. Peace.